Welcome back, everybody. Today we got a treat with two stories as they are really short. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the tales. The Little Glass Bottle by H.P. Lovecraft. Heave to. There's something floating to the leeward. The speaker was a short, stockily built man whose name was William Jones. He was the captain of a small catboat in which he and a party of men were sailing at the time the story opens. "Aye, aye, sir," answered John Towers, and the boat was brought to a standstill. Captain Jones reached out his hand for the object which he now discerned to be a glass bottle. Nothing but a rum flask that the men on a passing boat threw over, he said. But from an impulse of curiosity, he reached out for it. It was a rum flask, and he was about to throw it away when he noticed a piece of paper in it. He pulled it out, and on it read the following. January 1st, 1864. I am John Jones, who writes this letter. My ship is fast sinking with a treasure on board. I am where it is marked on the enclosed chart. Captain Jones turned the sheet over, and the other side was a chart. On the edge were written these words. Dotted lines represent course we took. Towers, said Captain Jones excitedly. Read this. Towers did as he was directed. I think it would pay to go, said Captain Jones. Do you? Just as you say, replied Towers. We'll charter a schooner this very day, said the excited captain. All right, said Towers. So they hired a boat and started off, governed by the dotted lines of the chart. In 4 weeks they reached the place where directed, and the divers went down and came up with an iron bottle. They found in it the following lines scribbled on a piece of brown paper. December 3, 1880. Dear Searcher, excuse me for the practical joke I have played on you, but it serves you right to find nothing for your foolish act. Well, it does, said Captain Jones. Go on. However, I will defray your expenses to and from the place you found your bottle. I think it will be $25, so that amount you will find in an iron box. I know where you found the bottle because I put this bottle here in the iron box, and then found a good place to put the second bottle, hoping the enclosed money will defray your expenses. Some I close. Anonymous. I'd like to kick his head off, said Captain Jones. Here, divers, go and get the $25. In a minute, the divers came up bearing an iron box. Inside it was found $25. It defrayed their expenses, but I hardly think that they will ever go to a mysterious place as directed by a mysterious bottle. The Secret Cave, or John Lee's Adventure. Now be good, children, said Mrs. Lee. While I'm away, and don't get into mischief. Mr. and Mrs. Lee were going off for the day, and to leave the two children, John, 10 years old, and Alice, 2 years old. Yes, replied John. As soon as the elder Lees were away, the younger Lees went down cellar and began to rummage among the rubbish. Little Alice leaned against the wall watching John. As John was making a boat of barrel staves, the little girl gave a piercing cry as the bricks behind her crumbled away. He rushed up to her and lifted her out, screaming loudly. As soon as her scream subsided, she said, "The wall went away." John went up and saw that there was a passage. He said to the little girl, "Let's come and see what this is." "Yes," she said. They entered the place. They could stand up it. The passage was farther than they could see. John, went back upstairs and went to the kitchen drawer and got 2 candles and some matches, and then they went back to the cellar passage. The two once more entered. There was plastering on the walls, ceiling, and floor. Nothing was visible but a box. This was for a seat. Nevertheless, they examined it and found it to contain nothing. They walked on further, and pretty soon the plastering left off, and they were in a cave. Little Alice was frightened at first, but at her brother's assurance that it was all right, she allayed her fears. Soon they came to a small box, which John took up and carried within. Pretty soon they came on a boat. In it were 2 oars. He dragged it with difficulty along with him. Soon they found the passage came to an abrupt stop. He pulled the obstacle away, and to his dismay, water rushed in torrents. John was an expert swimmer and long breathed. He had just taken a breath, so he tried to rise, but with the box and his sister, he found it quite impossible. Then he caught sight of the boat rising. He grasped it. The next he knew, he was on the surface clinging tightly to the body of his sister and the mysterious box. He could not imagine how the water got in, but a new peril menaced them. If the water continued rising, it would rise to the top. Suddenly, a thought presented itself. He could shut off the water. He speedily did this, and lifting the now lifeless body of his sister into the boat, he himself climbed in and sailed down the passage. It was gruesome and uncanny, absolutely dark, his candle being put out by the flood and a dead body lying near. He did not gaze about him, but rowed for his life. When he did look up, he was floating in his own cellar. He quickly rushed upstairs with the body to find his parents had come home. He told them the story. The funeral of Alice occupied so much time that John quite forgot about the box. But when they did open it, they found it to be a solid gold chunk worth about $10,000, enough to pay for anything but the death of his sister. The end.